Hello, so today I'm going to be talking about how much technology has grown and how much it has affected the way that we live our daily lives as humans. So I think that as time goes on, the more we spend connected to our technological devices, this affects anyone on Earth just about, except for there's very few people in the world that are not connected to technology at all. And those are places in like third world countries and places that just aren't connected to anything. So there's just so much that it's becoming more prominent in places like schools, our work life, our personal life, just about everywhere. It's just growing more and more. So I just think it's very important to look at, like, when you look around in public, you think about, like, there's just so many people. They're all connected to their cell phones. They're all always looking down. You have the world at your fingertips. Yes, that's great, but there's just so many people that are just connected to their phones all the time. This is happening in schools also. Education has become more reliant on technology. There's so many different resources they can use, and it's great because they can just teach children so much now that they would have had access to, but you have to do the research and find the correct books that would teach them the things. Whereas now you can download your textbooks all on your computer and carry them all around with you, and it's all right at your fingertips all the time. There's just so many different things like television that has taught us, like, has gives you the option to watch TV to learn things. You can learn Spanish through a television system. That's just crazy because it starts out at younger ages now where you're just connected to technology and you just can learn so much as a young child that it's crazy how much it's improved. I think that it's about 10 to 20 years ago, things like cell phones weren't as common. They people had cell phones, but they were lower tech than they are now. Now you have a smartphone and you can go and you either have unlimited or very high amounts of data usage on the phones, so you can go on the internet while you're anywhere and not be connected to the Wi-Fi. This is huge because when you're like in the middle of nowhere, most of the time you'll still be able to connect to your data and still be able to use your internet so you can look up where you are and find directions on how to get to where you're supposed to be. It's just one of the things that being on our cell phones is helpful, definitely, but it's changed the way that we live our lives. Normally, when back in the day, you would just ask for help, and now you're reliant upon yourself because you're relying on that technology. You pull up your GPS and you find your way out of wherever you are. You don't pull over and ask for help anymore, whereas that's something you used to do. It's just a societal thing. Like, people won't pull over on the side of the road for people as often if you have pulled over with a flat tire or a broke down car. Most people driving by just assume that you have a cell phone and you're gonna call for help, so they won't stop because you already have help on the way, so why stop? There's also adolescents have a big thing with technology. While children are growing, they it's very important for them to have, when they're that age, the adolescent age, they often have self-esteem issues and run into issues with body positivity and all of that. Technology, the way that the society has created these standards, it can often harm them because they see the way that people are living through their Instagram life or their Facebook life, and it's not always true. Like, it's very easy to Photoshop photos, and it's very easy to make your life seem perfect when it's not really. So I think that this has like a very big thing with technology, and when people didn't go on social media, then they didn't see the way that people were living, and they would only just see the people around them and like real life, and that would really influence them rather than now we see this unrealistic standards and they just think that that's how you're supposed to live, and I think that is a detriment to them because they don't always have the best role models because they're not all real. Another thing that has positively impacted technology would be agriculture. The society of the world, we used to just have small productions, all of that. You would only be able to produce smaller crops because you had to have the manpower behind each thing, enough people working to produce mass quantities. Now, with the technology we have that's increased over time, over the years, you can produce so much more crops and so much more stuff in less time with less people. So it's progressing into less people being hungry because they're able to make these crops be made and charge less money or more money if they're put the right wording on the papers. But the theory is less money because it's less work, less things to do, and hopefully come to a less of people going home hungry. Also, another technology that advancement for farmers would be the increase in science that we use to produce our food. There's scientists every day looking for ways to better shape the way that we make our food. And there's one thing that could be potentially not quite sure on the science behind it, but it's either harmful or good for us because they are genetically mutating crops. That's very much technology and very much connected to society because there's lots of discussion going on right now. It could potentially be bad for us, but at the same time, it's making it easier to produce these crops. They're producing crops in modified soils that are resistant to different pests and stuff like that, and diseases. They're also producing crops that will grow faster. There's just so many things that they can do scientifically that we wouldn't be able to do naturally otherwise. Another thing that what technology is connected to is the way that we get around. Often, like nowadays, there's GPS and a lot of different types of vehicles. You can call for a taxi on an app on your phone. There's just so many different technological advances in the way that we get around compared to how we used to. There's technological advances in everything that we do. Every day, there's something new, just about, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Technology just becomes so much of a big part of our lives that some wouldn't be able to survive without it. It's in everything that we do, the way that we communicate, the way that we entertain ourselves, the way we eat food, the way we get our food. The list just keeps going on and on. There's just so many different things. And I just think it's so important to look at society as how we are increasing the technology. It's become a societal goal to be the most effective, and I just think that's just so crazy that technology advances so much. All right, so this has been my presentation. Thank you.